Today I'm taking you through my full workflow as I create a new coordinate for a collection I'm working on, from my sketch stage in Procreate to drawing some of the elements in Procreate to bringing it into Illustrator, vectorizing it, and putting it into Repeat. So let's get started. I'm taking my sketch here and I'm going to bring down the opacity, and I want to make sure I already have a palette for this design. What I want to do is make sure that this layer is on multiply so I can see it really easily, and then I'm going to create new layers. I have this palette and I want to make sure that each color that I draw is on a separate layer. So I'm playing around with background colors. I think I'm going to do a blue background. And now I'm going to add a new layer and I'm going to start drawing. The first color I'm going to start with is this beige color, and I'm just going to dig in. The good news is it doesn't have to be super perfect because I can always make some adjustments in Adobe Illustrator. Considering this is meant to be like a vintage milk jug, I want this to be symmetrical. There are ways to draw symmetrically, but I find it easier to just copy and flip. So I'm going to bring those two together by pinching and fill in this color. Now I'm going to do the same thing for this little milk jug here before I add the handle. Now I'm going to work on these mason jars. I want to make sure, because these are different colors, this is going to be a white, I want to make sure that it's on a new layer before I get started, because as I said, we want every color to be on a different layer for this process. Now that I've drawn a couple of these, I'm going to copy and paste, maybe adjust some of the highlights to make them a little bit different. And I'm going to do the same with these jugs. So I'm just going to continue to work through the sketch, adding a new layer for every color and continuing to draw in what I've already planned, which is sunflower bouquets with daisies. Just having a lot of fun drawing that and filling every color in. Once I've drawn everything out, my next step is to export this as a PSD from Procreate and send it to my computer, where I will be working on it in Adobe Illustrator. All right, so you're going to bring your exported PSD file in and you're going to open it as objects. The next step is going to be selecting each individual layer and image tracing it and making sure that it retains the quality that I want it to. So right now I'm selecting this layer and I'm going to go to image trace and use the default of 3 colors. There's really only 1 color there and it makes white a second color. So I can change this to 2 in the settings. And then I'm going to want to go and adjust and play with the paths and the corners to make sure that I'm liking how defined it is and how close it is to the original. So I can play with these sliders and see what I like best. Then I push expand, use my magic wand to select the white and delete the white. Then I'm going to repeat this process for all of these different layers. So now I'm selecting the next layer and the plan is to do the same thing. Now, the reality is, image trace 3 colors. The reality is that there really is only 2 colors on most of these layers. So I can set it to 2 colors, make my little adjustments here, and then I can make my own preset so that that is the same as every time. So save as new preset, and I'm going to click those 3 little lines, and then I'm going to save this as Procreate because this is me redoing the Procreate. So now my settings are great. I'm clicking expand. Again, I'm selecting that white and deleting and locking that layer. I just toggled the next layer, which is that 1 gold sunflower image trace. I'm going to go all the way down to Procreate, my new choice. I like the settings. It's looking really similar. So expand, select the white, delete, and move on to the next. So again, this is most of the sunflowers, and I'm going to go through and do the exact same thing. This next layer is the daisies, which are white. So that is not going to trace very well as is because white is also the background color. It will automatically make. So what I'm going to do is go into Photoshop. I'm going to open up this file, this original PSD file, and then I'm going to make those daisies black so that they trace easier. So I'm just finding that layer right here. There it is. And then I'm going to turn down the brightness, select this layer, bring it into Illustrator, copy, paste. Now I have this exact same layer in black. And I'm going to do sketched art. I like sketched art if things are black because it comes out really close to the original. So now I can just line that up, delete the old raster layer that I didn't trace, and then change this black to white. I'm going to use this exact same process for the next layer because even though the next layer is a light yellow color, I don't know if it's because of the color, but especially because it is very thin lines. I did these really expressive outlines, not just for the dots of the daisies, but around the sunflower petals. And so making them black just makes it easier for Illustrator to auto trace. So I'm copying, I'm pasting, and again, I'm using that sketched art preset. That helps that thin line really come in clearly. And so I really like that for thin lines, making it a black color in Photoshop and then bringing it into Illustrator. Changing that to yellow, and now I'm pretty much just moving along and converting my various layers, whether it's directly in Illustrator, or I need to turn it black first and do it in Photoshop and then move it to Illustrator, converting the rest of my layers into vector art. Finally, I get to my last layer, which is my texture layer. And I'm definitely going to have to make this one black in Photoshop. And I'm pulling it back into Illustrator, and I'm gonna need to play with the settings because this is this airbrushed dotty look. And so I'm going to try some different options here. High fidelity photo might work, but I'm seeing that's adding a lot of colors. So I'm playing around with settings here until I get something that I like what I see. Turning the noise all the way down, expand. Let's zoom in and see what we got. Okay, so there's pieces of gray in here. It's not all one color, but I can select those and either delete, or in this dark gray, I think I'll just make it all the same color. And then I'm going to group these and put this where I want it. Delete the old layer and put it into place. All right, so once all my layers have been traced, I open my hero print, which already has the palette for this coordinate. And while I use the same colors in Procreate, I'm going to make sure that everything is lining up. So first I'm putting in that background. I never traced that because it was just a solid ground. Then I'm going to select this entire piece of art. I'm going to go to my recolor tool, and I'm going to make sure that all the colors line up exactly and are exactly the same. So I'm just choosing the same colors from my palette. My next step is going to be taking all these different pieces and different layers and selecting the pieces that go together. So like I'm selecting this whole sunflower and its stem, and I'm grouping. First, I'm grouping individual flowers, and then I will go through and group the whole bouquet. And the reason that I'm doing this is just for my ease of use. As I make the repeat, I want to be able to pull out individual flowers, and I also want to be able to grab the entire thing. So I'm just grouping things together here. Once everything's all grouped together, I'm going to start making my repeat. And so I'm changing my artboard size. I'm going to go with 8 inches by 8 inches. This depends on your final product, but that works for me for this fabric coordination. I know sometimes my fabric partner adjusts things slightly. This is going to be a digital print, so it doesn't have to fit to rotary print standards. And I'm also going to do a print of this so that I can see what this size really looks like and decide if these are too large or too small. I'm printing out the paper and taking a look. And in fact, it was too big, and so I shrink it and print again so I can take a look and decide on if this sizing is right. So once I'm satisfied, because I have these bouquets full of sunflowers, I've already created this print with like wildflowers, some other different types of flowers that I didn't draw. So I'm going to grab a few of these elements because I might want to use them in this bouquet print. So I'm going to put these off to the side and have these available for me to use as I build out this print. Since I end up shrinking all these icons, I decide that I'd rather do a 6.3-inch repeat. And so I shrink the artboard and I start to pull out these various wildflowers to create new bouquets. I'm going to make some adjustments on what I have and, you know, finesse some pieces that I don't like, but I'm also going to be creating new bouquets. I feel like these jars are a little bit too big if I'm thinking about how big a milk jug is, so I'm making some adjustments there and just finessing things a little bit so that they look the way I want them to look, adjusting things that I originally drew to make each motif really shine and look interesting. So I'm bringing in some new flowers and working on these bouquets. Once I'm happy with the original bouquets, my next step is going to be create a few more because I know I'm going to need more to have repeats to fill out this repeat. And I don't like my motifs, especially in a case like this, to be too much the same. So I'm going to build a few new mason jars. I want this to be a print that goes up and down directionally. So I'm going to just split out icons and just change things slightly. I'm using most of the stuff that I've already created. I'm just rearranging it so that it's a little bit different and a little bit more interesting, taking all these different items to make a more interesting repeat. So each part of it is different. I'm going to try some of these wildflowers. I'm just trying different things. And basically, as I build various bouquets, you're going to see me just put them in and try to build out this repeat. Once I've got a little cluster of motifs, I want to see how much more I need. So this is where I bring it to a corner and then I move it 6.3 to the right and then bring both down and move 6.3 down so that I know how much space I need to fill in order to make this a full repeat. So now I'm starting to build out some more bouquets to fill in that space. You'll also notice me doing a lot of zooming in and zooming out because this is something that is a good way to, you know, make sure that all my motifs are looking interesting when you get close and do the work, but then stand back and look at the repeat as a whole. So I'm doing a lot of coming in and then coming back. That happens throughout my work. I also like to look at the thumbnail of designs. So of course you're seeing this all at speeded up, so it seems very quick and easy, but the truth is the Procreate drawing, I already had the sketch, but just filling in the shapes that you saw, that took about 20 minutes. And then all this Illustrator work that I'm showing you here, all the groupings and moving things around and redrawing that I'm doing right now, this all took me about an hour and a half. And so then I took a little time away from the artwork. Once I got it into a repeat, I took a little time away. I played with some different colors and I played with some different textures in the backgrounds. But in the end, what I landed on for this collection is this design that you're seeing right now. So as you can see, I added in some additional textures and I made the milk jugs blues and beiges. I hope that was a helpful look of how I brought my sketches from Procreate to Illustrator to final design, which will be released as fabric eventually. So I'm looking forward to showing that entire collection. If you want more information, I have a lot more videos on this channel, as well as my core successful licensing collections. Head to elizabethsilver.com/learn if you want more straightforward support with surface pattern design and creative business. Learn all about how to create successful licensing collections, how to build your surface pattern design business, how to quickly get a pitch out to a potential client, or how to use Adobe Bridge. And be sure to check out some targeted help I have with portfolios and my free workshop ready for surface pattern clients. There's a lot to see at elizabethsilver.com/learn.